Hello, my friends. I have not vanished. See? I have been happily absent from almost everything online. That's going to continue to be so for several reasons. Well, the weather, the changing of the seasons, the return of the seasonal people to our neighborhood and our activities in our neighborhood, and my increasing activities with my church, and the not so fun editing of Elemental Balancing the book. It's really a task, something that has to be done, and I'm sticking to it, but I'm not finding it fun. Any of you who have self-published and have had to edit for yourself can appreciate that. I don't know what the quality of the video is going to be like because the windows in the porch are open because it is over 80 degrees out today. So I don't know with this camera how sensitive it is to the breeze coming in the windows. I can tell you it's delightful, but it's carrying some very interesting things. And I have a picture that I'll slip in here that will give you an idea of those interesting things. Living in the woods. First you start somewhere in the middle of April with the pollen from the pine trees, which can literally, living here, be a half an inch or more that shows up on your cars and on top of everything else outside. If your dog sits too still for too long, it ends up on your dog too. It ends up in your house when you open your windows. You track it on your carpets. There'll be a little green trail that comes in the door. And you just know that you're breathing it in. And you feel it in your ears and you feel it in your eyes. It'll pass within a couple of weeks, but then what happens is the shedding of the oak tree with these little fluffy things fall to the ground and literally fall so deep they have to end up being raked up. Yeah, that'll start goody goody in a week or so. But it's all good because it's finally what you hope of. I think you're a little crooked, aren't you? It's what you hope of for the season. A sign of the true turning, as well as this past weekend, our seasonal people returned to our neighborhood. And their lease runs May through October 1st, I think. And they were able to come this past weekend for the first weekend. So there was a lot of activity, a lot going on. The actual events of the summer start at the end of May. Americans know that as Memorial Day, but it's already getting busy. So I snapped some pictures here and there, and I wanted to, hang on. Share a little bit what's been going on. I think it was like April 11th or so the last time I checked in. I'm missing you all. It's I almost talked myself into going back to doing daily vlogs, and I realized it was a luxury of time I just truly don't have at the moment. And that'll change. It'll change in time. So since I saw you last, I checked in with the Julie Felix concert. I'm still flying high from that one, my friends. That was lovely. And I've just got a side view of myself in my camera. And you got to take what you get today. I'm very windblown and didn't have the time. I've only got a half an hour before the women come for a Tuesday night gathering, so I couldn't take the time to pretty up for you. Been outside, it's very windy, so I'm probably tossed about a bit. So since I have seen you next, the ladies' luncheon, the monthly ladies' luncheon here in my neighborhood happened, and that was delightful. I was the youngest at this particular luncheon by, anywhere between 10 and 15 years. And truly, I just sat there just soaking up the amazing energy of the women I was surrounded by, all powerful crones with very interesting life experiences. And it was an amazing experience. I almost enjoyed it, maybe in a certain way more than when some of the younger women, like myself, join. Being in the presence, truly, of the grandmothers of the generation we're about to lose was quite the honor. And then on Thursday of last week, it was the last of the What Comes Next series. I wasn't so sure I was going to be really interested in this one. I ended up finding it interesting. Time well spent. This was the first one was past life experience. Ernie's rearranging his bed. So that's the noise in the background. I apologize. This is a one shot to do this, and if I don't do it now, it's not going to happen. So you have to ignore the noise in the background. Eventually he'll have it right, and he will stop. A friend of mine on Facebook, and it may be one of you, and I apologize, I can't remember who, has an iguana as a pet, and the iguana's name is Alice. And Alice likes to rearrange her cage. So whenever Ernie starts rearranging his bed inside his crate, we call him Alice. So Alice is making all the noise in the background. So about what comes next. The first one was near-death experiences. The second one was reincarnation, which I think I checked in with you on that. It wasn't very interesting for me. It was one man's view, which he saw as truth of what reincarnation is. So I found it not very interesting, truthfully. That's okay, though. And the last one, which I really didn't think I'd have a lot of interest in, was the once and done experience, that you live your life, don't get a chance to live it again in any way, in any form of you or a collective you or anything, that you've done it, it's over with. And you may have a heaven or a hell or a reward or a punishment or something that comes next, but your physical living's over after one time. And it actually was a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be, especially as it explored the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And like I said, the person who teaches this is a professor, and so his knowledge base is vast. So we spent some time on the Egyptian Book of the Dead and then on Zoroastrianism, and then really went a bit in depth to what of that kind of heritage led to the view of Christianity, of the reason you're here, who sent you, the purpose of your life, what happens at the end of your life, and the way you may be judged, and what happens next. It was actually very interesting. I learned a lot of things. I'm looking at my calendar, and then, on Friday I got my hair cut, which I was a couple weeks overdue for that. Now, right now, you can't appreciate the new haircut because I don't even know what I look like, to tell you the truth. But budget kept me from getting a haircut for longer than I would have liked. And on Saturday, we had an auction at church, which sounds boring as all get out, doesn't it? But it was exciting and fun, and I couldn't participate in the auction part. We're not budgeted for anything like that, but instead of purchasing from the auction, I volunteered to help at the auction. Registration at the beginning and then clean up at the end, because I knew that would then keep me there for the length of it, and my social anxiety wouldn't have me leaving. And I really enjoyed the registration. I got to that way get some names and faces of church members in my mind. And the cleanup, oh my gosh, this is hysterical. I can't volunteer for cleanup again, I have to tell you. It was very difficult for me physically, and I was very ill the next day. So Lady Lupus is saying, you ain't gonna do that stuff anymore. And cleanup was a big deal. It was the auction filled the entire church, every space within it, with things that were being auctioned. All the chairs had to be rearranged afterwards. Literally, there were couches to be moved because they had been moved to make room for the artwork and the collectibles that were being auctioned. And imagine me at the end of a couch and an 80-year-old woman at the other end of the couch, hauling a couch the entire length of our church. And she did much better than I did. So I kind of found out the hard way that I can volunteer nowadays for the things at which I'm pretty much sitting or not exerting a lot of energy. Seems like I can no longer, even if I soldier through it, put hard physical effort into something without paying a price. Because that was a mess the next day. Thank goodness only the one day, and then I got back to normal. But so I learned a little bit of a lesson there. There's lots of ways that I can volunteer without... I feel bad because being amongst the younger people in the church, you think a little more hale and healthy and could help in ways. But I got to tell you, we got 70 and 80-year-olds at that church that can run circles around me. Plus, we are beginning to get, now that the church is built, a lot of younger people. I am meeting peers in age and also younger people who are also following a nature-based path. So that's awful nice. Speaking of which, this Thursday is the first session for the Goddess Within Covenant group. You know how excited I am about that. It's a planning session, not really officially a launch of the Covenant group, but to kind of plan our way forward. And for you friends who are watching this, amongst the things that we are doing as an introductory reading at the beginning, to remind the UUs present, although not everyone who's there is a UU, that this is connected to the beliefs and practices of the Unitarian Universalist Church. We are reading as a poem the hymn Lady of the Season's Laughter, which is an absolutely gorgeous piece. And we're also going to include the poem Imagine a Woman. And I'd like to share those things, especially with the woman who watched this. I think what I'll do, if I can get creative here, I'm going to share them with you as the video that you can see if you get a link to it, and I'll put the link below in the comment box. That way it's not part of this, because not everyone will be interested in those two poems. And they'll be there then for those of you who are interested, so down below you'll see that. So it's been, as you can tell, a busy week. Tonight's Tuesday night, so the girly girls will be here, and there'll be wine and cheese and laughter, and also we've had some sadness, so there'll be some crying on each other's shoulders too. The sadness is not mine, my friends. It's sadness in support of some things some of our friends are going through. Let's see. And tomorrow night is the dinner club. The next to the last one before we take off for the summer. It's been that kind of busy. It's been a steady pace, but not overwhelming for me. The reason I'm not online isn't because of those things. They're a few hours a day out of my life, but it's because Ernie and I have been walking and walking and walking. He's having a little problem right now because this pollen gets on his feet and he licks his feet. So when we come home, I wash his feet, and then I put some special lotion that I got and try and help him, because it appears he's a little sensitive, walking through pine dust, as someone else called it. Or pine powder, I think they called it, pine powder. So it's been really, really good. I'm looking at the pictures that I have here, and I'm probably going to talk as I share some of the pictures. These are all scattered over the last week. I wanted to share the view out of my friend Lisa's house. You know, we don't live directly on the water here. It's a little bit downhill from us, but she lives directly on the water, and this is a view out of her meditation room, really. It's a small room that was part of a porch, I think, previously. And it's a beautiful, beautiful space, and the view out of her window is amazing. And she has this most zen, mellow dog that sits in front of the window and watches all the birds and the animals and stuff go by, but doesn't react to them. It just sits and stares. You see the little nose marks from the dog along the bottom of the window. Max is an amazing, amazing dog. So I took some of those pictures there to share for you. She's very blessed to live in this particular place. Mr. Blue Heron is still here, and we're catching him somewhere in his territory. So I have a couple pictures of when we last saw him. We haven't seen Mrs. Blue herons are rather fascinating. They mate only for the purpose of procreation, and then they separate, and they don't share territories. So it may be that she's no longer here. If they've done what they needed to do to make baby blue herons, she may have left, because she attends to her own business, very independent of him, and they don't share territories. So we haven't seen her, and it could be that she's gone. The trees the woods around us are full of, nothing's happening with the oaks yet, but the maples and the other trees are putting out those really tender lime green leaves, and I've tried to capture that for you in a picture. They are beginning to till the fields, and on our drives out and about now, it's not so much that brilliant emerald green grass that I shared with you before. It is more dust and dirt, actually. We've had a crisis here. It should be strawberry season coming soon, but we've had some heavy freezes even a week ago, and that may shift our seasons here drastically, and even the damage to the peach trees has been rather severe. Within the last, a little bit farther back than a week ago, we actually had temperatures sub-freezing. So it did a lot of damage to the crops. And some of the plowed areas had had their spring wheat plantings, and now there's a problem. So it's not been good for the farmers around here. And let's see, I have a picture that just caught my attention looking at the fields. The farmer was plowing the back end of this field, and that's why you see like a smoky kind of a look at the back. It's the dust from where he was plowing. And I just love the way this tree was farther back in his field and had never been taken down. It was plowed around, and it just was a beautiful vista. I have a couple of pictures. I think I may have even taken a video of the waters lapping at the edge of the bay, and the sea grass, the bayside grass, is turning bright green. I think they have some additional pictures of Mr. and Mrs. Goose. And I think then I just have maybe a couple of more pictures of Mr. and Mrs. Goose for you. I've got some video files. Oh, I know, I took a picture here. I took a video here. My battery went dead on me. I forgot to charge my camera. And I was trying to capture for you a little bit of the difference in some of the energy. We now probably have about 10 boats in the marina. And this past weekend, of course, we had more people and more cars. And things have been shifting a lot. And I wanted to capture a little bit of the difference in how it feels here. Right now it's very welcome. I'm looking forward to visiting more next weekend with folks we haven't seen since October. And even here up the hill from the RVs, from the more or less camper part of our community. So there's like 300 of us that live in houses where there's about, I don't know, 50 or 60 of the RVs, which are seasonal. Even here up the hill in the houses, people are coming that we haven't seen since last year. There's bonfires outside most nights on the weekends. Well, really every night on the weekends. Things are livening up. Ernie and I are still going for our walks every day. Still enjoying them. It won't be quite so enjoyable after Memorial Day because there's not really a time of day that you can walk that there aren't a lot of people around. And that's not what I go for a walk for. What I tend to do then is get up very early and walk very early, because there aren't a lot of people up and about very early in the morning, because this is a holiday place for these people. You know, they've worked hard all week. They're not here to get up early unless they're going fishing or heading over to the beach, but they tend to be a little slow in the morning. So while we walk in the morning now, we'll have to walk a lot earlier in the morning. Otherwise, the walk becomes, you know, walk 50 feet and somebody calls out your name and you stop and talk to them and walk another 50 feet. And that's how it goes. So I check in to let you know everything is fine. I will grouse and grumble my way through the editing, which is going very slowly, of the Elemental Balancing book. I'm struggling. I really am struggling with self-editing. That is not an easy thing to do. And but other than that, everything that I'm doing is bringing me great joy. I am I drummed at the drumming circle too. I think perhaps that happened since I last saw you. Not sure. Would have been the time before last. I'm eagerly anticipating the meeting this week. That will be the planning meeting for our Goddess Within Covenant group. And also on Friday, I have no idea what it's going to be. It's a public session at the library here in our hometown. And it's billed as sound healing, earth, air, fire, and water. And it's supposed to be meditation and sound-based. So, of course, I'm quite curious to see what it is. And the great thing is it's free and offered by the library. You had to get tickets because it sells out, but I got my ticket. I'm looking forward to that on Friday. Not too much else that I can think of. I guess one of my greatest joys of this past week is a conversation I had with a friend today that thinks there might be a visit in July. And that just made me smile ever since it was mentioned, and that person can comment below or not, but I honor their right to privacy. But it's someone that Roger and I truly love and consider to be family, and I consider to be a soulmate. So hearing that visit might happen if things go well is sending me singing through the rest of this week. I can guarantee you that. So thank you for tolerating my in and out appearances right now, and thank you for tolerating my rather ill-kept and windblown appearance in this video. I won't know until I watch the video exactly how I look. And please note that below I will link to a reading of those two poems because I love them both so much. I especially encourage my woman friends, and I should say those who honor the women in their lives, to listen to the two of them. I hope you're in peaceful times yourself too, my friends, and that this changing of the seasons is getting you outside in the sense of out and into nature, and also outside of the cares and concerns of your life. Until the next check-in, it's a good day.